Beck says, I think that continuous deployment is a high-risk concept, especially for an e-commerce business such as the one I work for. How do you mitigate the risks of something being missed without final manual checks? So I've been in an e-commerce company that was very skeptical about CI and CD. So yeah, this resonates with me for sure.
Absolutely. And so, first of all, I have no idea if it's high risk in your context. So I trust you that you know your customers and you know your business. So that's first and foremost. That being said, I'd highly recommend, there was a talk at Pipeline Conference, I want to say 2 years ago, so 2017, that said you're too big not to do continuous delivery, or you're too important not to do continuous delivery. And it was about banking. So you can imagine, for every risk that there is with e-commerce, it's clearly a big risk with banking as well. I don't want to evaluate more or less. And basically what they're talking about is the fact that the more risky it is to make a mistake, the more important it is to make sure that you can recover quickly. And that's about practicing releasing often. So I like the story of, the Homer Simpson idea of how many days since a failure, right? And just ticking them off and then going back to zero all the time. There will be failures. There will be bugs. We all know that every piece of software has defects in it. And so expanding that time between failure, and mean time between failure, MTBF, is good. Obviously you don't want failures. That's great. But but at the same time, it just means that you're not able to handle failure at that point. And this is where things like Chaos Monkey and the Simian Army come in. That it's actually better to practice failure than to deny it ever can happen. So while I completely acknowledge and accept that you're in a high risk situation, I would also highly challenge you to start asking the questions of what happens when we fail. Can our people understand the process for recovering from that? And how much of a risk is that? If I'm testing the risk of our software, I better start testing the risk of our software failing as well.